Hi everyone, Maryann here. You're listening to Random Sage with Maryann from Revealing Light. How are you all today? Wherever you are in the world when you're watching, a huge shout out to you. Hello, Random Sages. Sages, you are sage yourself. Because you're watching this channel, you have your own higher thinking, you're tuning into your higher self. Sometimes that means we've got to face uncomfortable truths. I talk about that as a lot. The truth, we know it. You can take all the social media away. You can rid yourself of the din of the news and what you're being told, and you can listen to one thing, and that's your intuition. And sometimes we ignore our intuition because the truth is uncomfortable for us to hear. But then at other times, a light bulb goes on and we suddenly become very aware of what I would call a universal truth. And when enough of us do that, that leads to a spiritual paradigm shift. This is called enlightenment. This is called a change in the timeline, if you want to use that kind of language, where we were headed in one way, but we became aware. We became self-aware and aware of the spiritual truths, the absolute irrefutable spiritual truths. And we saw very, very clearly what we needed to do and where we needed to go. Well, enough of us do that, then that leads to a spiritual paradigm shift. It's all around awareness. And when we become aware, we can see the truth. It's like the scales drop from our eyes and we can see absolute and utter truth. As I said, we don't need to compete for space to tell our truths. We don't need to necessarily listen to others. It's just we know. We know. I believe there's a spiritual paradigm shift occurring now. And that is what I'm going to be channeling, if you like, or talking about today. I'm going to be using both Oracle and Tarot cards. And so let's get started. Let's just tune right into spirit, right into the clairvoyance, so that I can see, is this correct? Are we becoming aware enough at this time of turmoil? What are the various wars and violence, bloodshed, brutal murder of innocent people? What are they telling us? In Ukraine, they talked about unity to stop slaughter. The Middle East is a lot more challenging in terms of Ukraine was pretty cut and dry, wasn't it? A sovereign country got invaded by an aggressive kind of dictator who really wanted Ukraine territory for his own. Ukrainians fought back and said, we will never, ever cede our country to you. And if I read things correctly, the dictator, the aggressive imperialistic dictator, is going to have his own downfall in time, because Ukraine will never, ever, ever, ever accept Russian occupation. In the Middle East, there are two sides to the coin: long-standing brutalities. It's a story of modern-day colonialism, unfortunately. And now we're seeing terrorism as a result, and also, well, how can I describe it? It makes me extremely sad. Wholesale murdering of Palestinians. And it's a dreadful blight on us as a society that we can turn what some have described as killing fields in Gaza, driven by Netanyahu's Israeli Prime Minister's desire for really to expand Israel, really to eradicate Palestinians. It will not make the Middle East, it will not make Israel great. It won't. In fact, it's likely to lead to Israel being shunned and avoided. In fact, it already is, except for those that are using this as a culture war. Maybe culture wars are when people are so rigid in their beliefs, they refuse to see the truth of something. We had the UN relief head in an interview with Christine Amanpour I think it was on CNN, in America, and he says he was there when after Pol Pot's time, he was part of the UN that went in after Pol Pot, the downfall of Pol Pot, and he saw for himself the infamous and tragic killing fields. And he says that what has happened in Gaza is worse than that. That when we see the truth, that awareness, remember proportionality, war is you have to have a proportional response to something. When we see what's happened in Gaza, it is something that will live now in decades to come, what has happened there. So these uncomfortable truths, sometimes we can't help be drawn into a culture war. Sometimes we need to come and raise ourselves above that and look at the universal truth and accept the universal truth as truth because we know it. And many of us have said tragedy and tragedy. One tragedy does not mean or does not give one the right to involve many who are innocent in tragedy as well. Yet others will play into political and cultural wars. And, I can't condone that. I don't go along with that. That is part of liberating oneself when we can choose for ourselves what is our truth. The other part is when the truth is so uncomfortable that we suppress our voice. Okay. Is there these dreadful events? Before that, Syria, chemical weapons used on little children, families, innocent populations. It would cause many to think of the barbarity of the human nature and whether any of us are worth saving at all. We are, because I believe that this truth, this uncomfortable truth, this barbaric truth is leading to a spiritual paradigm shift, a timeline change. Such is the gravity. Such is the gravity. The same thing after World War II and Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Whatever the Japanese did to Australians, my father was amongst that. It's time for a paradigm shift. The owl, always 39, always comes forward in terms of wisdom. Are you wise enough to stand above the fray? Are you wise enough to stand above the fray? The owl observes. The owl isn't drawn in to what is going on below. The owl is wise. The staff, the staff. Change and new beginnings, a little bit like the hermit in the tarot. Introspection, going within, perhaps to contemplate that uncomfortable truth, moving through the darkness. Because the hermit in the tarot, and indeed I'm getting this off this, the staff card in this deck as well, mystical oracle shaman, does that because he knows that he or she knows the only way through the tunnel is to seek the answers within. That's why you can remove on all the social media, the din, the cultural wars, the political one-upmanship, the political side taking. What are you feeling within? The drum. The shaman uses the drum to go within. Look at this, 51 and 15. 51 and 15, 39, the master Tesla numbers. The universal frequency is wisdom, higher thinking. And then we have change. Fives are all about changes. The numeral 1 is about new beginnings. The drum, journey within. A paradigm shift, a spiritual paradigm shifts through awareness. How do we become aware? We go within. Timeline changes. Going down one timeline and then pursuing another. Almost like a car putting the brakes on and go, I don't want to go down that road. No, that other destination looks far better. Are we in a paradigm spiritual shift? Lightning change, Uranus energy. Uranus has been sitting another 3 spiritual solutions. The only way to manage the imperative to manage these times is to go within and reflect on the truth, the universal truth. And if enough of us become aware, change will begin. Lightning change, the paradigm shift. And then we get wind, 63 again, 3963, healing, spiritual healing, winds of change, and luminous warrior. That is you, the luminous warrior, being spiritually aware. And when we become spiritually aware, we join with others who are also spiritually aware. Is there a spiritual paradigm shift occurring? I believe so. All right, I think that's enough for today. It's Sunday after all for me, and I'll release this. I usually publish this on a Monday, but today I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it on a Sunday because I've been wanting to look at this for some time, because I know there are a lot of my viewers who are torn, heartbroken, confused about what is going on in the world today. And I'm here to tell you this is part of a paradigm shift of greater awareness, and greater spiritual awareness means greater love and compassion for each other. All right. Thank you for tuning in, and bye for now.